Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that the people who are major fans of Froot, and I say the word fans, but they're really parasocial simps and suckers, they are not happy with me at all over my last video. I've been inundated on Twitter. I've gotten messages. I've even gotten some emails. Now, these are not the people that usually email, but they felt so inspired and compelled by my video to let me know what they really think, which I find to be particularly hilarious. So here's what the main accusation is. This is a guy that doesn't do any of his own research, and he just wants to hate on somebody for clicks and views. It's such a generic and low IQ take. Like, look, if I wanted to do something for views, if I were only interested in views rather than, this sort of topic, first of all, I wouldn't have made a video when nobody was talking about this weeks ago. I made videos about Iron Mouse and Silvervale and Froot before Froot ever released her document. Nobody was talking about this, and I decided to do a video on it knowing that it wouldn't get any views. Now, I had no way of knowing that I was wrong and that it would get a lot of views. Not just back then, but, today, yeah, it gets views. But it doesn't change anything. And to accuse me of not being open to research, my last video is literally me looking through information that's being presented and altering my opinion based on that. Because the video prior, I said, well, I don't really see that there's much information about the Froot affair, so I have to relegate it back to, a rumor. My opinion constantly changes based on new information. And what's so interesting and ironic is that the people that accuse me of this, the people that say your opinion never changes, are people that will not change their opinion. They are allergic to reality. They do not want to face new information. They view new information as the enemy. And I see this over and over and over again, where the accusation is what they themselves are doing. These people do not like new information. I love it. When, for example, I mentioned this in my past video, but there were a number of people that emailed me, and they said, look, you're not mentioning Froot and, the charity scandal. You're mentioning that she was pledging money to mermaids, this despicable charity that wants to transition kids, and has all manner of problems, with data breaches, leaking children's information, and all that sort of stuff. But she didn't donate a dime of money. They said, why don't you bring that up? And I said, you know what? That's a really good point. I didn't think about that. I was only addressing what happened, not so much the aftermath, which is that she didn't give a dime of money. I think it's a perfectly legitimate criticism. I am the number one, the biggest. Nobody takes in new information like me. And it's true. Now, I understand why they're saying that. They don't like what I have to say, and they're used to a certain type of content creator. But here's the deal. If I ever say something that's wrong, that you genuinely don't agree with, coming to me and saying, hey, look, I think that you got this wrong, and here's why, and sending me a video, I will, at the bare minimum, watch the video and give you a response. If I think that it's worthwhile, I'll even do a video on it. This is what you freaks need to understand. That you are the ones that are allergic to new information. You are the ones that are so close-minded and so desperate to cling on to the worldview that you have that you're willing to do just about anything to protect it. I'm not. If there was irrefutable evidence that came out tomorrow that showed Froot was completely innocent and I was wrong, I would cover it, you bet your ass. However, it doesn't seem like that. It seems like the more that I get into this, the more that there is. The more allegations, the more evidence, the more people that have come out who have been part of this. And these aren't random people, like in my last video. It's not random people that are just being interviewed. It's people that were involved in the situation. And it's people that have first-hand accounting. And it's not just a text taken out of context. It is an interview. At the tail end of that video I watched, there was a long interview with somebody who was part of that whole thing. I didn't want to get into the whole thing because it would have been way too long for a video. That video would have been like a full-length motion picture if I had gone through that whole thing. But it's a whole interview between Aunt Hime, the VTuber, and the people that are involved. Asking them certain questions, giving them their perspective. That's all new information to me. That was new evidence that I took and added on what I already knew. Now, if you don't like that, if that makes you uncomfortable, if you're irritated by that, if you don't like my style, if you don't like my voice, you're fine to think that. But don't kid yourself and don't waste my time and don't bullshit me. We both know, of the two of us, and I'm not saying I'm a genius, but I'm far, far superior to you when it comes to taking in new information, when it comes to listening to people, when it comes to analyzing this sort of stuff. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world at it. I'm not saying I'm some sort of genius or some kind of like mega mind. But at the bare minimum, if I get something wrong, I can admit that I'm wrong, and you degenerate freaks can't. You can't admit that you're wrong. And you know how I know that? Because you're leftists. You're liberals. You're people on the left side of the political spectrum. You continue to push and go on and on and on, never really reevaluating, hey, maybe we've gone too far in a couple places. Like, for example, Drag Story Hour. Yeah, see, you think that that's a good idea. And I know that because you defend it. The way you defend it is by saying, well, it doesn't exist, and then when you're forced to confront it, you then say, what's the big deal? How is this an issue? How is this a problem? It's just, unrepresented people, being accepted in the mainstream and trying to teach the future generation to accept these people. So you freaks will go out on a limb to defend your rotten to the core, disgusting, degenerate, low IQ, bottom-feeding worldview that's just pure sin and debauchery and degeneracy and filth. But then you'll come to me and say, well, you don't take in any new information. You don't do research. Literally do. One of the things that I thank people for in my previous video is the fact that people are sending me more information. So I'm making this video because I know it'll irritate you. Because you don't like when I make videos. You don't like when people watch them. You don't like, oh, you're making money. Yeah, sure. But I also care about this stuff. I also care about the topics. I care about learning. Care about outreach. And people appear to care about this topic just like I do. So for me, it's a win all around. For you, it's a lose, 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 lose situation. Because not only are you making fools out of yourself, you're allowing me to profit off of you making fools out of yourself. And I'm not above milking you like the lol cows that you are. I'm going to put you to work. Because if you're going to waste my time and you're going to put out this inane sort of commentary that, oh, don't listen to this guy. This guy doesn't do his own research. I'm doing my own research every video I do. I'm giving my opinion based on the facts, based on the experience. But every video, I've experienced something new. I've experienced some sort of comment afterwards or some kind of email from people that want to give back and want to share. And each video is an upgrade, I feel. That's how content creation should be, in my view. I do a video, I share my opinion, new information comes out, and I adapt. Sort of like the thing with mermaids. Ever since I got that feedback, I've mentioned the mermaid scandal in every video I've done because I think that it's important. I think it's important to establish the lack of credibility, the lack of character of this person. And it goes to setting up the stage and explaining why this person would do what they do in comparison to the Silverveil situation and the Pygmy situation. It starts to make sense. You start to form an opinion based on that research, based on that information, based on what they've done, what they've said, their tweets, interviews from people who knew them. You start to form a picture, and It is in direct contrast to a Google Doc that they themselves put out just a few days ago. So it is still relevant. It is still informative. It is still worth talking about. And by the way, if any of you freaks, if any of you lowlifes, you degenerate bottom feeders, have some form of information that's a counter to this, you have it thus far. But if you do, send it to me. I mean it. Send it to me. Let me look it over. Maybe I'll do a video on it. But the fact that you could sit there and just deny reality and come after me and send me messages, I gotta tell you, first of all, you're not going to affect me. I mean, it's so ridiculous. You're not going to affect me in any way. The only thing that I'm going to do is make a video making fun of you, mocking you, and putting you down. Now, I wouldn't do that if you actually sent me something worthwhile. You're like, hey, we've got this bit of information that proves that Froot is completely innocent. I'd take a look at it at the very least. Because unlike you, I am open to new information. I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to articulating all these different worldviews, all these different perspectives, because I'm not afraid of any one of them. I'm not afraid of being wrong. I think that's the difference. You freaks are afraid of being wrong. You simps and suckers are afraid because you've hinged your entire moral net worth on being right on any one issue. You put everything you have into one issue and virtue signaling and grandstanding on it, and I don't. Because I don't need to. I don't need to put all of my stock, all of my eggs in one basket. You do because you're terrible, awful people with a low IQ and a high propensity for degenerate behavior. So you want to try to compensate in the way that you do, and you think that trying to tear me down is going to make you somehow seem better. No, I'm just going to basically put your face in the poop that you made on the floor. You say, bad dog, but you're probably into that sort of play. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a shorter video. I appreciate you watching. Again, I just want to reiterate how grateful I am that I don't have a parasocial audience. I have an audience that's willing to listen, willing to give me feedback. So many of you have sent me resource materials, and the video that we watched last time, I got recommended that video by so many people. I just really do genuinely appreciate it. I appreciate it because I do not want a parasocial audience. I do not want an audience that's going to blow smoke up my ass and glaze my asshole. I want an audience that's going to hold me accountable. I want an audience that's going to say, hey, I really like this. Maybe you could do this better. But, I mean, if you like everything about a video, I wouldn't mind a compliment. But at the end of the day, your interaction is what really matters. Your feedback is what matters. You matter. I know that's something that's foreign to hear from a content creator, but I actually do really value the opinion of other people. Anyway, that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.